So you're still listening to the We Are West Ham podcast, and I'm delighted to say that joining us on this absolute roller coaster of an evening is Roshane Thomas, a friend of the show, but primarily West Ham United correspondent for The Athletic. Absolutely outstanding journalist, outstanding bloke. Roshane, it's wonderful to have you back with us, mate. I'll forgive you for the comments about my hair and my hat pre-record. I saw your absolutely astonishing new haircut on Sky Sports News earlier in the week, so I knew I had to up my game. Roshane, it's great to have you with us, mate. What a week this is. We've just heard the news. As we're recording this podcast, so much has changed already. Ed Woodward now has stepped down from Manchester United. It appears Chelsea and Manchester City have bailed out on this European Super League after all. Just tell us now, what have you made of the whole situation up until now?
Oh, well, it's been an absolute mess. And just touching on Woodward quickly, it reminds me of, it's like, you can't dump me, I'll dump you first. That's what it looks like right now, Ed Woodward. And obviously, he definitely should resign. No way he'd be sacked. What, get another payoff? Absolutely no chance. And in terms of how it's been handled, it's just been a mess, really. It showed a betrayal to the English fans. It showed a betrayal to the sport itself. The fact that you wanted to have this sort of breakaway league and just ruin the element of competition, a league where you can't even get relegated. How does that even make sense? The reason why we all love the game so much is that we have hope. We all aspire to be like a club like Leicester. Win the league, we aspire to have a club that could finish in top four. All this sort of stuff we aspire to have. And the breakaway league was trying to take all of that away. And rightly so. And you know what, right? We all know Twitter can be toxic sometimes. I can't remember the last time everyone United has won over a topic like this. Everyone universally condemned this concept. I can't recall the last time that has happened. Like, everyone. I didn't find one person who was like, this is really good. I didn't find one person. And we all know how toxic Twitter can be. So I thought that was really good. And listen, I was watching, prior to coming on, I was watching live coverage of the Chelsea fans protesting outside Stamford Bridge. And listen, we couldn't really care less about Chelsea because obviously we're linked to West Ham. But listen, I was loving what the fans were doing.
Well, Tom's down there, Roshane. Tom, who normally hosts the podcast.
I was gonna say there's someone missing. Yeah, I can say someone's missing from the chat. Yeah, I'll kind of
Tom, who normally does it. We've just had Dave Chidge on from the Chelsea fan cast, and I think it's solidarity, Roshane. We like the rivalries among clubs, but ultimately we're all football fans first and foremost, and we want the structure in place that enables those rivalries. We want to play Chelsea and give Chidge and all our Chelsea mates a bit of a ribbon each week. And Tom doesn't live too far from Chelsea, felt strongly about it, so he went down there as a football fan, not a Chelsea fan, and he feels strongly about it. Look, Roshane, you've mentioned just before we hit record on this little chat with you tonight, you mentioned there that your plans for the week at The Athletic were all set up and then they were all cancelled when the news broke in the Sunday Times on Sunday, of course. And you said there, obviously, you were tasked straight away. How's it going to affect the club that you cover? You've been covering West Ham with absolute aplomb all season, as anyone who reads your stuff will know.
Thanks,
what did that entail for you then this week, mate? Like what was the comings of West Ham? Obviously, they released the statement, giving their own thoughts on it. But what's your sort of take on the whole situation?
Well, first of all, thanks for the kind words. I'll definitely buy you a new hat, pal. That's for sure. Obviously, the way it was that the top six clubs, that was the priority in terms of what's happening. Are they gonna try and leave it under pressure? So the top six writers, we had a lot of pressure in terms of that respect. First, someone like myself and West Ham, and all the other 14 writers, we just had to find out what the plans for the clubs were, how they thought about this proposal. So obviously, I had to make phone calls, find out what was happening. We put together a joint piece, myself and other 13 writers for our respective clubs. We put out a piece yesterday, I believe, just to give fans an update. This is what's happening. So in terms of West Ham, obviously they're completely against it. And then the emergency board meeting earlier today, they put forward the argument about this cannot happen. This cannot happen whatsoever. So we expressed that in the piece as well. And then after that, my editor said also write a piece on just the element of competition. Right now, West Ham are fourth on the brink of qualifying for Champions League. And I've got a wood right here. Touch wood, it happens. And just write about element of competition and why this whole European Super League concept would just be terrible for a club like West Ham. Have aspirations to be in a top four. So I put that piece out, got a good reaction, and obviously I was supposed to put another piece out, but it looks like that will change now. So it just shows you how this industry is. Like 1 minute you're riding high and just like that. Like in the last hour and a half, Chelsea and Man City are pulled out, and I believe Atletico and Barcelona. Ed Woodward had resigned as Man United chairman, vice chairman rather. It just shows you how quickly things can change in this industry.
So Roshane, in terms of West Ham moving forward, how do you think that? Obviously, the club have put out a statement saying that they were completely against it.
Yeah.
A lot of fans, and this is a lot of fans were like, "Yeah, but like if you were invited to that table, then you would have taken it." Do you think that's the case, or do you think that Gold and Sullivan really would have gone? I mean, if the relationship wasn't bad enough as it is, then that would have been one step too far.
Yeah, you see, to be fair, I got quite a few DMs like, Roshane, of course you know that you would have gone in the Super League if they were invited. Come on, like, right? You know what, right? Last week, I actually wrote a piece sort of saying, listen, season's been great. David Moyes and the backroom staff deserve praise, but the board also deserves just a little bit of praise. It's a tiny bit of praise. And people are like, what on earth are you talking about? No, they don't. It's all down to David Moyes. And I was like, look, if you think about everything that we've been sort of been pissed off with the board before, they've sort of like learned a lesson. So, for example, Karen Brady's column, right? How often will West Ham win or draw on a Saturday? On a Sunday, we're reading Karen Brady's column, like, what on earth are you saying? Like, why are you putting this in? And then everyone's talking about that instead of how well West Ham played. But this season, I can't think of one controversy surrounding Karen Brady's column. I can't think of one. I know Sullivan can be a bit, vocal in the media, and he spoke on TalkSport, I think in October, how he's feeling depressed.
Who's this, mate? Sorry?
Sullivan, David Sullivan.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
How he was feeling depressed about, not bringing in a centre half, how he has no regrets over Diagana. And you're like, what on earth are you doing? Just be quiet. Like, you know what I mean? Be quiet. But if you look back now, he's right. No regrets over Diagana. What, 1 goal and 18 appearances for West Brom. Hasn't been great. So that's worked out well. James Tarkowski, linked to him 40 million, didn't sign him. Like, good defender, but not worth 40 million. And as a result, we signed Craig Dawson, now known as Virgil Van Dawson, but he hasn't been showing that over the last couple of games. So it's that.
Virgil Van Dawson.
Yeah, you know what, right? Over the last 48 hours, we've sort of seen these clubs like Arsenal, Man United, Liverpool, American owners, and how they are and how they could care less about their supporters. And we're seeing, we sort of got to factor it and compare it to West Ham owners. And I know they can be very vocal sometimes and they can annoy us, but my thing is, at least it's from the heart. So Sullivan, for example, going on TalkSport, said he's feeling depressed. We're all thinking, what on earth are you saying? But you know what? At least you're being honest. Like, they don't give any media trained answers. It's from the heart when it comes to these owners. So I feel like that's something to also bear in mind. And last point of this, when you think of like what they've done over the past, however, for 10 years or so, I honestly think they're learning their lessons. I think they're learning their lessons. I got Moyes in, he's doing a good job. Recruited well. Sullivan's taken a step back from transfers. We all know in the past, these dodgy strikers we've signed, and he's taken a step back. So I feel like there's praise. And as I mentioned, if you think about over the 48 hours, how other owners have sort of been condemned in the media, there's I'm not saying a lot, but it's a tiny bit of praise.
No, you know what, Roshane? I must admit, I think we were inevitably going to have that conversation on this podcast, probably at the end of the season, to be fair. And there will be those, you'll have learnt this, it might have been the hard way, but you'll have certainly learnt it in some way or the other, covering West Ham as you have this season. And since you started the job, you'll have learnt very quickly, I'd imagine, that there is a section of the fans who are anti-GSB out, regardless of what happens. It's already too late. It doesn't matter what happens. They could win the Champions League next season if it still exists, and those fans won't forgive them. There are those slightly more in the middle who are completely disgusted and hurt by the way they've acted in the club, who perhaps just want them to at least produce a good, hold up their end of the bargain. As far as when we moved from the Olympic Stadium, the implicit agreement was that we'd be better on the pitch. So there are fans who just want that to happen. They don't care how it's done or who's in the ownership, in the owner director's box every week, as long as we get better. There are those who, who are either propaganda arms for the board, masquerading as West Ham news sites or whatever, and there are those who just don't care and who take the head in the sand approach and just want to go to football, and they will take West Ham, they don't think about too much more than what's going on the pitch. And if they're doing all right, they'll enjoy it. And if they're not, they'll moan. But they don't really want to get involved too much.
Yeah.
But I think at the end of this season, or you're the first one who's mentioned it on the podcast, I think we would have had to approach it carefully, James, wouldn't we? Or no, but you're right. I think there's an element, and there will be those who say they deserve praise. Well, they only employed Moyes because he was well cheap. Because let's be honest, he's on much lower wages than Pellegrini. He's one of the lower paid managers in the league. However, the idea of running a football club and running it well, one might say, if you're a board member hearing that argument, is, well, the whole idea of being a good football manager is to get the best results on the pitch in the most fiscally responsible way possible. So like you mentioned there's no way James Tarkowski has been £37 million better than Craig Dawson has this season, is there? Absolutely no way whatsoever. The Lingard move was a fantastic one. So I think we'll certainly have that conversation towards the end of the season. I personally think they have done a little bit to mend relationships with some fans. As I say, there will be those who don't at all. But look, mate, the Newcastle game at the weekend, I assume you were there first of all.
I just about recovered from that match, bro.
Just about got back. But what did you make of it all then? Because it's obviously taken a bit of a back seat on this program tonight. In fact, it's the first mention we've had of it. Lost 3-2. Obviously, we could have gone third, albeit temporarily, with a win. Failed to do that. Frustrating fashion. Craig Dawson, obviously, and Lucas Fabianski to blame. Just give us what was your thoughts?
If you're a Newcastle fan, right, you're thinking, how on earth are West Ham fourth? We done a double over them. Like, how on earth are we fourth? But listen, I before that match, I was confident. I thought West Ham would win. And then 5 minutes of madness has killed our chances. 5 minutes of madness. Craig Dawson, I can't call him Virgil van Dawson anymore because I haven't seen it. So Craig Dawson just been in apps. And you know what? It's been prior to the match. He scored back-to-back own goals against Man United and Arsenal. Looked a bit shaky. I actually thought it was because he didn't have Ogbonna alongside him. Why he's looking a bit shaky. Ogbonna was alongside him against Newcastle. For whatever reason, he just lost his form. So when it's that, Diop, as we all know, he can be a bit hit and miss at times. 1 minute I'll be like, Diop, what on earth are you doing? You got to make simple passes. Just make the normal tackle and you'll score. So, you know what I mean? Diop can be a bit confusing sometimes. Fabianski been so dependable for us. And then that cross from Matt Ritchie, all you got to do just carry it, catch it. It's not hard. And they fumbled it. So you're thinking, what? West Ham have to sign a new goalkeeper in the summer to provide competition because Darren Randolph, good goalkeeper, but not Premier League standard in my opinion. David Martin, good, but not Premier League standard, unfortunately, in my opinion. You've got young goalkeepers like Nathan Trott, Jason Fernandez, they're good, but they're not ready right now in terms of the 13th for West Ham. So that's an area that perhaps could be strengthened. And all in all, I felt like it was a missed opportunity, in my opinion, because you got to win that match before the Chelsea game. If you have back-to-back defeats, I don't think it would be good for morale. And then, although we have a relatively easy run in, you're sort of thinking, it's especially with key players being out injured, it just, the worst timing, really. Go on, JJ.
Roshane, do you think that? The first half was. Up until the Dawson the Dawson red card or the bad touch that led to the red card and the goal. Yeah. We were dominating the game, dominating possession, had more of the ball, but we ran out of ideas very, very quickly moving forward. It wasn't a bad first half an hour, but it also wasn't great because we weren't really creating many chances. Because Newcastle would set up to play us at our own game. How does David Moyes approach that moving forward and probably in the summer and going into next season in that, we're not a possession team, or at the moment we're not a possession team because we don't have, those ideas moving forward. How does he approach that so that, we don't come unstuck when teams go, right, okay, well, we're going to let you have the ball because we know you're not going to do much with it and we're going to catch you on the counter.
No, for sure. Good point. And I actually think Moyes got it wrong in terms of his tactics and formation for that game. With Cresswell and Masuaku being out injured, I don't think you should have played a wing-back system. I think that only works if you've got Cresswell and Masuaku. Cresswell's been great in terms of getting forward. He's got 7 assists. He's equally tally from the 17-18 season. Masuaku, I'll be honest, I thought Masuaku not good enough for West Ham. I've definitely beaten a lot.
Behave yourself. That's blasphemy on this podcast, Roshane. Don't even think about it.
I know. Listen, I've been on a diet all season when it comes to Masuaku with this humble pie I've been eating because he's been proving me wrong. And he's been
King
great.
Arthur Masuaku.
I think that only works if you have Cresswell and Masuaku and Play Ben Johnson. I thought he had a good game, but in my opinion, he was at fault for the winner. I think Joe Willock.
Yeah, poor header, wasn't it?
Yeah, could have defended that a lot better in my opinion. So I feel like Moyes. But the thing is, JJ, we're just so short of options right now with all these injuries. That's the issue. Declan Rice out injured, and Zini was out injured for that match where he played on Monday against Everton on the 23s in a 2-1 win. Tony out injured. It's just hard right now. Like we're really scared in terms of options. Obviously, Craig Dawson being out injured is likely Balbrain will be back for the Chelsea game. So we'll make do with what we have right now, and it's tough. But moving forward, definitely should try. And you know what? I actually disagree with you. I feel like the start of that match, Newcastle all over us, especially St. Maximin. We just couldn't find a way to nullify his threat. Wherever you got on the ball, you're thinking, oh goodness, he's going to try and shoot or try to get past the defense. So I think
that's mostly on the counter, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, I guess so. But still, I just, when you think about Newcastle, for whatever reason, St. Maximin becomes messy whenever he plays us.
Yeah.
I remember last season under Pellegrini at home, and oh my goodness, the way he just destroyed Zabaleta in that match, absolutely destroyed Zabaleta in that game. So it just seemed like we didn't have a system to put in place to stop him from getting at us. Unfortunately, and you know what? To touch on defense quickly, we need to stop making mistakes. We really do. I said in my piece on Monday, people thought I was just reacting to one match, but I really want. If you think about the wins over Leicester and Wolves, they were narrow wins. Like we just held on in the end. Held on. They could have scored more goals. I remember that win against Leicester. Had Fabianski not been in good form that day, making a lot of good saves, that could have been a 3-3 draw. You know what I mean? And that's defense giving other teams confidence. So as good as we're scoring goals, Lingard doing well, Bowen scoring goals again. I mean, not even Bowen. Arjen Bowen scoring goals. Defense needs to get the act together as well, because here we are fourth on the brink of Champions League qualification. Don't throw it away now. Fair enough.
Conceding 10 in 4 games, no good, is it?
No, you can't do it now. Fair enough if you're making mistakes in September, October, but there's not much riding on it. But don't do it in April when there's a lot at stake with 6 games to go. You know what I mean?
Well, look, Roshane, how do you see it playing out the rest of the season? A huge game against Chelsea at the weekend. It's a massive clash. Yeah. And obviously we got to assume that the football season is going to carry on as normal and that the Champions League will exist next year. And West Ham have got half a chance of getting into it. How do you see it playing out? You don't sound too confident, mate, which worries me a little bit.
I'm not confident for the Chelsea match because they look a different gravy, as you want to call it, different gravy on the Thomas Tuchel right now. They look really good. So listen, if we can get a draw, I'll be elated, honestly. That's such a big game right now. If we had our Antonio back, Rice back, Cresswell back, I'll be a lot more confident. But what we have, especially with Dawson being injured and Balbrain coming in who hasn't played for quite some time, although I'm hoping he'll impress and catch the eye, it's going to be a tough one. Lose that, it's back-to-back defeats, sort of having doubts over where we can finish top 4. But win that, and listen, happy days. And as I touched on earlier, we have a relatively easy running. Southampton, West Brom, Everton, but they've been hit and miss. We can beat them already. So I feel like what will get West Ham in top 4 is if Chelsea sort of have one eye on Champions League. If they become sort of fixated on that and they lose distraction on the Premier League, then that's the way for us to keep winning our matches and get in. Obviously, it's great about Declan Rice to be back before the end of the season. So key players coming back. I know it's cliche to say, but it'll be like a new signing almost. So that to come back and inspire the lads. So listen, if we do it, can you imagine if we do it?
Look at the smile on his face, James. All he's thinking is those little midweek away trips that he's going to get paid for, isn't he?
He wants a little European tour.
Yeah, on his own, on the old expenses.
You know what? I forgot to say earlier, but after the because right now, because quite often, right, journals in press box, the head down. As soon as the final whistle goes, they put the head down and start writing. So what I started doing, right, I started looking up and seeing how the players react, looking at the director's box. And after the Leicester game, look straight at the director's box, soon as the whistle blew, so the referee blew his final whistle, right? I saw Karen Brady jumping up and started doing all of that. I saw David Gold just sat down and started clapping because, listen, he's 84, so he hasn't got much energy to be getting up and, you know what I mean? And other people started high-fiving each other, but I haven't seen that all season. That's the first time I saw that. So
what, again, Newcastle? What game was this?
After Leicester. Home against Leicester. Key figures at the club started getting happy and started yes, come on. That never happens, you know what I mean? So it shows the element of reacting like any other supporter, which is good to see.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Well, look, I mean, James Roshane's editor obviously quivering in his boots at the moment, wondering how much that expenses card is going to get caned next season when Roshane's out in the little tavernas next to the Bernabeu, if they're still in it. He's absolutely looking forward to that, mate. I suspect. I didn't think you weren't expecting a European run when you took the West Ham gig, were you?
I know. But if it happens, it'll be great. But not necessarily in terms of the countries I could go to, but what it will do for the club. You know, it convince people like Declan Rice to stay, Thomas Soucek to stay, the stature of the club will only strengthen. It just be like, we all know what David Moyes has done over the past 15 months. And this would be like one big gift for him to get Champions League football. Every week in his press conference, he speaks so well in terms of, you know, West Ham being an untapped potential. Like, he knows what West Ham can achieve with him at the helm. And if we do it, listen, if we finish 8th, it's still been a remarkable season. Like, it really has. So if we can get top 4, I'll be doing backflips all over East London. If we don't, then listen, I'll still be happy nonetheless.
Exactly, mate. Well, look, if you need an assistant next season, Roshane, if we do get in the Champions League, to someone to carry your suitcases for you and sharpen all your pencils. Yeah, exactly, mate. Yeah, you know where to go. Well, look, Roshane Thomas there from The Athletic coming back. Thanks so much for giving us your time on the We Are West Ham podcast. We do appreciate it. And as I meant all that I said earlier, we've covered West Ham with absolute aplomb this season. I know lots of people have enjoyed reading your stuff, as have we. And it's we really appreciate you giving us your time on the podcast as well, mate. And coming up to the end of the season, the restrictions are lifting. So we'll be able to go and have a beer together soon and have a chat all about it. But Roshane Thomas there from The Athletic. Wonderful.